Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 57 on February 12th, 2023 from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1,199 versus a regular price of $1,999 for one total savings of $800. This limited time super discount comes out to less than $100 per month and only $3.28 per day. As an added bonus, your all access starts immediately, so the sooner you buy before Super Bowl 56, the more additional days you will get for free. Just go to WagerTalk.com, choose your favorite handicapper to lock in, and don't forget there is no limit to the amount of handicappers you can redeem our Super Bowl to Super Bowl offer on.
What's up, guys? Another week means it's another episode of Tea Time from Vegas. This week, we have two tournaments to cover. Myself, Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com, along with Andy Lang, also of WagerTalk.com. Before we get into the events, Andy, I'd like to bring him into the show. How you doing, my friend? I missed you last week as I walked around the hallowed grounds of Torrey Pines. I really wish you were there with me, but I know you held it strong in the show. The show was great last week. I appreciate you filling in. But how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I would have rather been in San Diego with you rather than Indianapolis here. So, yeah, it was good. Very, very interesting week of betting we have this week. Two polarizing tournaments and a lot of bets. There's a lot of props. There's a lot of top 40s, 20s, 10s. It took a long time to go over and through all the bets. So this should be a really, really good week of betting with a lot of opportunities to be profitable. So looking forward to this one.
Yeah, of course, we have the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week, along with the Saudi International, which has taken away a lot of the big names from the PGA Tour this week. We'll get into that in a little bit. As before we get into the show, I want to mention to all the listeners and viewers, we have a promo code for Andy or myself's 30-day golf pass. You can grab that for $40 off using promo code PEBBLE40. It takes $40 off. Normally priced at $99. Grab that for just $59, which again this week includes two tournaments, and then you'll get each of the next 5 tournaments included as well. Just with the way the timing works out from 30 days when there's 28 days in a 4-week cycle. So Pebble40 is the promo code using myself or Andy's page over at WagerTalk.com. All right. As always, we like to start off the show, talk a little bit about last week, our best bets, and of course our worst bets of the week, which in golf you're always going to have. So Andy, why don't we start with you? What was your best bet of the week last week?
Best bet was easy, no sweat cash. Ryan Palmer, top 40. He loves this place. He plays so good here. We got a great price on him to finish inside the top 40. He was in there the entire time, and he's just a solid bet on this one. And we'll be hearing more from Ryan Palmer. He looks great to start the year, not just at a course that he plays really good at. I'll touch on him a little bit later, but easy, no sweat winner on Ryan Palmer, top 40. Worst bet, Will Zalatoris over Hideki Matsuyama in the second round. Matsuyama plays incredible. Zalatoris plays fine, except Matsuyama beats him by one stroke by edging him out on the last hole. So what happens the very next round? Zalatoris beats him by 8 shots and ends up in the playoff. So somehow I lost money on a guy that made it to the playoff. I don't know how I managed to pull that off, but yay me. So unbelievable. I picked Zalatoris on the day he loses to Matsuyama by 1, and then 8-shot difference the next day.
Yeah, I feel like you bet Zalatoris any of the other 3 days, you probably win that bet. But sorry to hear, my friend. I had my best bet of the week was Luke List. I didn't take him to win, though. I didn't have the balls. I wish I did, but I had him as both top 10 and a top 20. Honestly, didn't have a great Saturday and fell. I can't remember now if he fell like to 24th or something just outside the top 20. And then I'm like, oh, gosh, now I got to even sweat him getting in the top 20. And then all of a sudden he wins the damn thing. So I did not expect that to happen. But we'll cash those couple nice tickets. My worst bet, Corey Connors, top Canadian. He didn't finish last out of the group of, I think there was 8 of them in the field. But he didn't make the cut. And he wasn't even close. He got 75 on Thursday, and it was over before it even started. So that was my worst bet. But nonetheless, it was still a profitable week, and a lot of that was due to Luke List. So hopefully we can continue that into this week. Before we get into, we'll start with Pebble Beach. But before we get into that, I did want to take a quick look at the winners so far this year, the four tournaments that we've had. And you have Cam Smith, Hideki Matsuyama, Hudson Swafford, Luke List. And I keep talking about week in and week out where these guys fall on strokes gained numbers. And I like to look over the last 6 months. I haven't looked over the last 3 months and over the last 12 months, but last 6 months seems to be the sweet spot. And all four of the winners so far have either been in the top 10 in strokes gained approach, which is iron play to greens, or strokes gained tee to green, which also includes the driver, and some of them in top 10 in both. So we'll see if we can continue that trend going into this week, and we will start by taking a look at that top 10 strokes gained board for the AT&T Pebble Beach, led by none other than Patrick Cantlay. Of course, he has been the best player other than John Rahm, on the planet for quite a while now. And he's head and shoulders above this field, although I'll argue Berger isn't too far behind. But then it drops off pretty quickly. Justin Rose had a good week last week. Seamer's Power's been playing pretty well for a couple months now. McNeely, Tringali, McCarthy, Hughes, Hogue, and Griffin to round it out. You can see they drop off. I mean, you're talking about Patrick Cantlay at plus 2.75 all the way down to Lanto Griffin at plus 0.79 in the top 10. So it's a pretty top-heavy field here with the two top guys, and then it kind of drops off quite a bit. And a lot of that's due to this field being stripped and playing across the globe at the Saudi International. So before we get to that tournament, though, Andy, anything you want to touch on with this tournament or the field itself?
Well, the next year's Tournament of Champions is off and running with Hudson Swafford and Luke List added to the. I just love when this Tournament of Champions ends up with some of these guys in here. So, but hey, good for them. Good for them to see some of those faces. And congratulations to Luke List. That's been a long time coming for him to pull one out like that. So, well, with this one, this tournament, it takes forever. You got the amateurs teamed up with the pros. So these rounds last forever. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't get a kick out of seeing Bill Murray do sand angels in the bunker. I don't get a kick out of watching these guys hack up the rough in the bunkers. A couple years ago, I think there was Phil Mickelson was walking down the fairway making stock deals with the CEO of Charles Schwab. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't need to see the VP of Coca-Cola team up with Kevin Kisner in an actual golf tournament that gives out points and money. Out of that, they play it across a multitude of courses, which I'm not really a fan of. It's hard to watch, in my opinion. You've got a lot of guys with a lot of money, and they get their sponsors out of it. So instead of golf analysis, you're getting banking commercials and stuff. Nick, honestly, it's not an enjoyable watching tournament for me, but it sets up beautifully for betting. So I will be doing my part watching as much as I can and following bets. But as far as enjoyment, it's one of my least favorite ones to watch.
Yeah, it's a shame. Feel like if this was 4 days at Pebble, I think this field would be pretty stacked year in and year out. Pro-Am like this, and then the other two classes, of course, are Spyglass Hill and Monterey Peninsula. I'll mention that normally you want to look at the weather for any event week, 3 days kind of weather over the course of the first 3 days where they're playing each course. Try to get the guys in the best scoring condition days at Monterey Peninsula, but ends up being where the forecast is pretty much the same all 4 days. I don't think that really comes in. Point being, outright markets, leaderboard markets, that kind of a thing. I don't think there's an advantage to necessarily that these guys are playing the courses in. So we'll get into our best bets for this event this week. I'll go first. I will mention mine is I'm going to be two different points of this tournament. I'm going to go with one of the favorites. I'm going to go with somebody you probably not heard of. Daniel Berger. Take him 10-1 at over Patrick Cantlay as far as the outright goes. Daniel's the second highest odds guy out in the field this week, but he's number one in the field in both gained approach and strokes gained tee to green, which was that first graphic we looked at of the winners coming in the top 10 so far. Only Cantley passes him in number one total strokes gained because Cantley's putting is just ridiculous a lot of the times. But last week, or no, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, when I had him at the American Express, he couldn't. I just kept watching, him put himself inside 10, 15 feet and couldn't make a putt. So that's golf for you. But back to Berger. Not only is he number one in strokes gained, he's defending champ. He's proven already that he can successfully defend a title, having done so at the FedEx St. Jude prior to this. He doesn't have a sexy number, as I mentioned here, but at least it is better than Cantley. Besides winning last year, tied for 5th and tied for 10th in his 2 previous trips to Pebble, and has some good results coming in. Tied for 20th, tied for 5th, tied for 7th, tied for 11th in his last 4 starts. If you're not interested in the price on him on the outright market, which I'll admit isn't that great, you can take a look at him in the matchups. He's currently at plus 125 against Cantley. I had a big circle drawn around Berger over Zalatoris, but our production crew was great enough to highlight the fact that Zalatoris withdrew this afternoon and made my notes and everything I did for the show to get ready to throw it out the window. So unfortunately, that bet is not going to be playable, but I do like him plus 125 over Cantley as well this week. Andy, what's one of the plays you're looking at for Pebble?
Well, I'm going to go with a guy that we talk about horse for the course, and this may be the guy who just is always bad at the same courses, and he's always good at the courses that he likes. It's Kevin Streelman. You basically are going to bet on Kevin Streelman 3 or 4 times a year, and then you're just going to fade him the rest. Because and those of you that have followed golf for a while know what I mean. This is one of his courses that he really likes. So find a prop on him. I found this one on Bet Rivers. Check tomorrow to have check all your sports books. If you have domestic access to DraftKings and FanDuel, make sure you get Bet Rivers. They do a fantastic job with props. They have more than you would expect. So if you don't have an account there and you bet golf, it's a must. So I'm going to take him to make the cut at minus 136. 13th, 2nd, 7th, 6th, 14th, and 7th. Those are his last 6 tournaments that he's played at this course. He made the cut last week, so he's coming in with a little bit of decent form. It's not a great field once it drops off kind of at the top. This should be an easy make cut for him. He loves playing here. Minus 136 is a really, really good price. I see no issues with him being able to see the weekend.
I like that play. I feel like Streelman is the most average-looking guy on the PGA Tour. That's just me. But every time I see his picture, or I'm trying to watch it first, I'm like, I know that guy, but I can't place him. I don't know. I don't know what it is with him. But you're right about Streelman, and he always plays well at the same venues. I'm going to go down to a name, Andy, I know you've heard of, but maybe some of the viewers have not heard of for my next play, and that is going to be Hayden Buckley, who's currently at 150-1. And I'm not really playing him on the outright market here. I'm just listing his price. He's more of a top 10, top 20 play for me, where he's 11-1, top 10, or 5-1 for a top 20. If you don't know him yet, get to know him. He's a Korn Ferry Tour graduate. He ranks number 5 in this field in strokes gained tee to green. He finished tied for 4th at the Korn Ferry Tour Championship earlier this year, and then parlayed that into a tie for 4th at the Sanderson Farms, tied for 8th at the Shriners on the PGA Tour. Although he did miss the cut in each of his last 2 starts at the Farmers and at the American Express, he did finish tied for 12th at the Sony Open. He's a guy that's not, he's young. He's just getting his feet wet on the PGA Tour, and week in and week out, he's not going to necessarily be there. But when he does have a good week, he tends to finish really high up on the leaderboard. So 11-1 for a top 10 seems like a pretty good price, and even 5-1 on a top 20 just for him to get through on that first or second page of the leaderboard. Seems pretty good in a field that's this week. So Hayden Buckley is a guy to get your money on this week. Andy, one other play for you from you for Pebble?
A little bit of low-hanging fruit. I would imagine most people are going to be on this one, so some for different reasons. But give me Jason Day over Jordan Spieth. This is working out just stupendous for me. Fading Jordan Spieth after he has his first baby. He's been terrible. He finished dead last at the Hero World Challenge, 21st at the Tournament of Champions, which sounds good until you learn there was only 30 some odd players in it. Missed the cut horribly last week, and add to that, after his second round where he shot a 78, they say he was in the hospital the night before with stomach issues. He's probably not 100%. He scores 70 on the North course, which is a bad score. You can't shoot 70 on the North course on day one. And then 78 on the South course was obviously awful. I don't buy him doing yet. I'm going to keep fading him. And Jason Day, we talked about Streelman. My gosh, the guy that's even better is Jason Day. He just loves this place. I don't know what it is about the Pro-Am in this course. 5 straight top 7 finishes. Only one finish outside the – it's crazy. Only one finish outside the top 11, and that was in 2014. So Spieth has good history here. I don't care. Day looked really, really good last week. He loves this place. I'm fading Spieth, and I'm getting Jason Day at possibly his favorite course. So easy play for me.
Listen, I'll say right now that I stole your play, Christian Bezuidenhout, 2 weeks ago, but I already had my money on Jason Day over Spieth as well, so I agree 100% with your play this week. All right, before we segue over to the other tournament, the Saudi International, just a reminder of the promo code we have going on. Pebble 40 is 30-day available for 30 days. That's for either. So all 9. Grab that for just $59. Get 30 days. All golf includes 2 tournaments this week and each of the next 5 weeks of golf tournaments. So head over our pages at WagerTalk.com to check that out. All right, Saudi International. So we talked about the PGA Tour. Typically your best fields every week in and week out, but arguably this time it is not. The Saudi International, at least from the top, has 20 of the top 50 players in the world versus the Pebble Beach AT&T has only 10, so definitely more talent near the top. But then, of course, it drops off quite a bit as a lot of this field is made up of Asian Tour players. As we look at the strokes gained for this tournament, of course, we're going to see none other than Cam Smith, who was lights out that first week he played, although he did miss the cut following that at the Sony Open. But Cam Smith leads the way at plus 2.23 per round. Then you got DeChambeau. I don't know how he's still at plus 1.78. I think because he is not playing very well, and I guess a lot of that's probably from like the 3 to 6 month window ago, not the 1 to 3 month window. Then you got DJ, who looked for 3 days at Torrey. Kevin Na, who is my favorite play. He's my favorite bet on guy. I'll get to that in a little bit. Sergio, Schauffele, Hatton, Lowry, Finau, and Leishman round out the top 10. So pretty good field here, pretty big names all throughout this event. Andy, any notes, anything you want to mention about this tournament or the fields halfway across the globe?
Well, I'm not a politician, Nick. It's the Saudi International I'm not a politician tournament for me, because these guys go over there and they made a graphic for it that is fantastic. So the backstory is this tournament started 3 years ago. They basically built a golf course just for an event like this. They put it on the Asian Tour, and they pay exorbitant amounts of money for guys to show up for appearance fees. The purse was $3.5 million last year. Nick, it's $5 million this year. And so there's a lot of issues with the country. And so every year we get to this tournament and they start asking the golfers, why are you playing in this? And they all say the same thing. I'm not a politician. I just show up and play golf. I'm just trying. So it's pretty funny. We all know why they're over there. They're all getting paid a lot of money. And, we'll leave it at that. But I'm not a politician. It's a par 72. It's a little bit shorter. DJ dominates this tournament, but a couple other guys to keep around. Ian Poulter plays pretty decent here, and you can get some good value on that. Ian Poulter's not a long player, but there's no denying his irons and short game. And this is not a Bombers type of course, so you might look at Ian Poulter as a guy. And there's another guy that you're going to talk about coming up, but you mentioned it, steep drop off. The tournament is mostly these Asian Tour guys, but it's so top heavy that you can find some real value in some of these top 20 props and made cut props. So I'm going to start with that for my free play, if you're all right with that. I'm going to go right in. Yeah, we're going to go into – I'm actually going to miss the cut. I really like the price on Phil Mickelson to miss the cut at plus 150. He barely – yes, look out. He barely made the cut last year at this tournament, and then he was pretty bad on the weekend. And he's missed the cut bad in the first 2 tournaments of the PGA season. So this is this kind of feels like a vacation spot for Phil Mickelson. I know it's not a great field, but he's not been very good. And at plus 150, I love it. I will absolutely sprinkle a little bit on him to miss the cut.
I like the play, but I do have a little sentiment for Phil. As I walked on to Torrey last week, first group that I stumbled across was Day, Leishman, and Neiman, and directly behind them, I didn't even know he was there, was Phil. And I look over to my left, and he's hitting a flop shot on the sixth, going into the sixth green, and I'm like, I gotta watch this. And he did his Phil normal thing, and then he gave my son, who's 2 years old, his golf tee right after he was walking off the green. So it was really cool. So shout out to Phil for that. But I would agree, probably betting against him this week is the right play because he just hasn't had it. But my head, that's one of my head versus my heart. My heart doesn't want to do it, but my head says it's probably a good play. Listen to Andy on that one for sure. I do want to mention that this tournament's interesting, that the PGA Tour players playing over this week had to get permission from the PGA Tour to play in this event on the condition that they're going to commit to the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am at least once over the next 2 or 3 years. I find that hard. They had to bargain with them just to play the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, because you mentioned before how most guys don't like to play it because of the stupid Pro-Am part, but they strong-armed to make that feel better. All right, you can go play, but you got to play this crappy tournament sometime. So I wanted to mention that. So I hinted at my plays I like for this week, and he's my favorite bet-on guy right now, and that is Kevin Na. He is currently listed at 35-1 or plus 300 for a top 10. He's consistently underpriced, in my opinion, compared to the big name players who have been playing. He's been playing just as well as, if not better than. He ranks inside the top 10 in both strokes gained tee to green and approach. He played in this event last year, finishing tied for 21st, including shooting a 63 in round 2. So he's definitely familiar with the place and can go low here. Knott comes in rested after not playing the last 2 weeks, which I think is a good thing. Went tie for 13th, tie for 20 in the Aloha swing. Part of a longer run of 6 top 20 finishes in his last 8 starts, including 3 top 10. So I think we'll see Knott up there near the leaderboard, and with only 20 guys really that probably have a chance to win this thing, I think he's definitely got the best price to come through. So that is one of my outright going into this week. Andy, one more play you're looking at for the Saudi?
Dustin Johnson, top 10. What a amazing price. Top 10 at minus 110. DJ loves this place. First, second, and first here in all 3 years. He played the Farmers. He's pretty good. He played last week. I think that was pretty much to knock the rust off and get a few swings in. He finished 25th, which he was better than 25th. He played really good on the first 3 days. He had a 73 on day 4. I really think it was to get some swings in to get ready for this tournament, actually. And there are big names in the tournament, but we talked about the steep drop-off. He's only battling a few other guys, really, for this top 10. All he's got to do is go out and play his normal game, and he should be right up there fighting for a win. So I think this price is a gift. Minus 110 to get DJ inside the top 10, and make sure that you play this at a book that pays out ties. I say this every week. Make sure that you're using one of the books that pays out ties. You don't want to get those prorated, diced up payouts. So this is one of my favorite plays this week.
Yeah, I like DJ. I'll admit I bet him last year as the tournament favorite. He was plus 550 in this event. It was, a lot is made about the field this year, but honestly, the field, isn't that much stronger than it has been last year or last 2 years. So he's always been able to do well in this event with a decent field. So I like DJ. Andy, I will definitely be on that as well. And I'll end the show here with one more play. I'm going with a matchup, and that's taking Thomas Pieters at a small price, minus 105 right now, over Tony Finau. To me, Pieters is just not getting the credit he deserves in this matchup. I mean, the guy, listen, he's only won 2 out of his last 4 starts, including the Abu Dhabi Championship 2 weeks ago, which is a pretty strong field itself. His worst finish over his last 5 starts has been a tie for 16th, and he ranks inside the top 10 in both strokes gained tee to green and approach, as the key here to these events has been. I faded Finau last week, missed the cut at Torrey, and in 6 starts this year, Finau has just one top 20. He's also been struggling with his putter. Over the last 6 months, he's lost minus 0.09 strokes gained putting per round. So that's not a good omen. Until I see him start to get confident with that putter, I don't know if he's going to be I'm sure he'll make the cut, but I don't know if he's going to be really in contention, where I think Peters is going to be right up there on that first page all week long. So Thomas Peters over Tony Finau as a head-to-head play at the Saudi. Any other last thoughts, last notes for the viewers before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, I'd like to bounce this idea off you. I haven't adopted this strategy completely, but one thing that I've been noticing is with all these books becoming legalized in more states, I'm seeing way more golf bets than normal. And I normally don't like laying a lot of juice in some of these matchups, but it's just kind of been occurring to me. I've looked at some of these head-to-head matchups that it's very juicy. And I had a friend of mine who laid a lot of juice on some of these matchups, and he won every single one. He's like undefeated this year on them. And it really has caught my attention. So I'm going to bounce a couple of these off you. A couple of weeks ago, John Rahm was minus 200 against Tony Finau on a course that Rahm just dominates and Finau's terrible at. And it was minus 200. And you go, and immediately you would just go, you're not betting minus 200. And it was an easy win. It was just an easy cash. This week, Daniel Berger is minus 220 to finish in the top 20. The guy loves this course. He's one of the best in the world right now. He's a top 2 golfer coming into this week. DJ, I mentioned him at minus 110. If you drop down to minus 240, you can get him in the top 20. And it's like, well, how's DJ not finish in the top 20 in this one? So I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm really going to go down this route, but it's been easily profitable. So I don't know what your thoughts are at looking at some of these. And instead of betting top 10s, drop down, pay extra juice for the top 20s, and then taking some of these big favorites and head-to-heads. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. The range is always kind of minus 170 to maybe pushing minus 200 is kind of where I'll max out at. If I am looking at some of those higher ones, because I've done in the past, certainly in ones where I'm like, you know what, this is a pretty sure thing, which we know in betting nothing is a sure thing. But where you got a guy like Rahm over Finau or something, and of course he loves the matchups, I tend to like more so than the top 10 or top 20 at those prices, purely because you can still win even if your guy doesn't have the best week, as long as the other guy has a terrible week. So the matchups to me are a little bit safer because you're both betting on your guy to do well, just like you are betting on the other guy to do, shitty. So the top 10, top 20, I might avoid a little more, but I do like the matchups, and I'm okay with laying some of the higher numbers on the matchup plays. And honestly, there's only a few guys, because the books are pretty good at pairing up. They don't want to have a lot of that big juice and big plus money prices out there, so they're good at pairing up. Be evenly priced, except when you get to Rahm. He's hard. I mean, they're always going to have a big price on him. So I do like that on the matchups, Andy. And, of course, if we dabble in it, good luck to us both.
And it's a strategy I'm going to follow for a while. I may paper trade it, or just experiment with myself. But I think that's how I want to go about it. And it's a small sample size as we're just barely into February, but it's something I'm going to keep my eye on. So anything that can turn a profit, I'm all ears and all eyes.
Listen, we'll do whatever we can to make a couple bucks, right? Well, maybe not whatever, but whatever. All right. Reminder one last time for the viewers, promo code Pebble40 this week gets you $40 off a 30-day pass for either Andy or myself over at WagerTalk.com. Get this week's 2 tournaments and each of the next couple of weeks as well. And we will be back next week for the Waste Management Open, always a great event over in Arizona, where they play a crazy stadium hole. And talk about that with you next week, Andy. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. And as always, good luck with your bets.